Okay, everyone, welcome to exercise number 2. In this exercise, we are going to pick out which resume section headers are going to be the best for Jin Ye. Before I actually show them to you, let me tell you a little bit about her so that can help you make your decision. So, as I mentioned in a previous video, she graduated from high school but never went to college, and she currently works in a coffee shop and has actually been promoted to shift manager after working there for a year or so. In addition to that, while she was in high school and a little bit afterwards, she's done some volunteer activities and helped actually organize several large-scale events. In addition, she has she's proficient in using computers, so Microsoft Office, email, etc., and also speaks a little bit of English fairly well, and even a little bit of Japanese. So I'm going to present 3 options to you, and you just tell me which headers you think are the best. Now, when it comes to writing resumes and cover letters, oftentimes there's not a right answer, but oftentimes, usually, there is one answer that's going to be better than the others. So do your best and just think, if you were reading this resume, which headings do you think you would find the best? Okay, I'll leave them up on the screen for a few seconds each, but feel free to pause and think about it, and I'll see what you think. Okay, see you on the other side. Okay, so what did you think? Option number 1, option number 2, or option number 3? Well, I think option number 3 was the best, but we're going to go through each of them and I'll talk about why I thought option number 3 was better than 1 and 2. So for option number 1, this actually looks pretty good. You have education, you have professional experience, volunteer experience, and then you have an other category. And I did mention that oftentimes people will have a separate category for things that didn't necessarily fit in other places. However, what makes this option insufficient is the fact that the other category is simply called other. It gives no indication as to what the purpose of the section is. And in your resume, all of your content should have a very clear purpose. Also, with regard to the fact that volunteer experience and professional experience are both separated out from each other, it's not necessarily the case that they should be. Professional experience doesn't always have to be paid. And in Jin Hye's case, she's organized a number of very big volunteer activities, and so it might actually make sense to put volunteer experience under professional experience, because the truth is, many skills that you develop in volunteering can help you professionally. All right, so that was option number 1. Let's talk about option number 2. So this one should have been a little obvious that this is not the right answer. So the fact that she has the coffee shop experience and then unpaid experience and then hobbies and interests, these are clearly indicative of what is going to be in the section, but they're not worded very professionally. Hobbies and interests is okay, but if you're going to have an entire section only dedicated to that, you should really make sure that the job application calls for something like that. By calling something coffee shop experience, that's very specific and very particular, and when the reader reads it, unless you're actually applying for a job at a coffee shop, then they're immediately going to wonder, how is this relevant to the job that I'm hiring you for? And then unpaid experience, never mention whether a job is unpaid or temporary or anything of that nature. If they want to ask you about it, they can, and you should, of course, tell the truth. But there's no reason to mention that something is paid or unpaid or temporary or permanent or whatever the case may be. You just put your best foot forward and leave it up to the employer to decide whether they want to ask you or not. The thing you have to remember, and this is a small psychological tip, but if you've had 5 years of experience or 1 year of experience or 5 months of experience, everyone's resume fits on one page. And employers know that you have done more than what is presented on that one page. And so the reality is, even if you have 5 months of experience, you're not necessarily going to be equal to someone with 5 years of experience, but because it's all kind of limited to one page, you can really make yourself look a lot better than 5 months of experience might suggest. So just remember that. Always remember, be ready to sell yourself and to put your best foot forward. Okay, now option number 3. So this has 3 sections: education, professional experience, and abilities and interests. So I thought that this one was the best. I put education first. Even though she hasn't graduated from college, she did graduate from high school, and importantly, many of her volunteer activities did take place in high school, and she'll be able to list clubs that she had participated in, as well as leadership positions that she held there. So it does make sense in this case, I think, to put education first. And then professional experience comes next, and then after that is abilities and interests. And in the abilities and interests section is where she can list her proficiency with Microsoft Office, with English and Japanese, and then interests if she feels like that's called for. And oftentimes it can be okay. So I hope that was helpful. I hope you have a little bit better of an idea on how to organize your resume. And in the next video, we're going to talk about how to write the headers for each individual employer and activity. So we're starting very broad and working our way down. Okay, see you there.